Good evening and welcome to tonight's Talking Sports with Evan. I'm Evan Witalis, and I want to say thank you so much for tuning in here tonight as I give a conversation and discussion about the Packers' 40-40 tie against the Dallas Cowboys. Give some issues, concerns, some thoughts that I had in regards to that tie or loss, as I will call it from now for now, and talk about that game and some coaching decisions and blunders and some mistakes and issues that I have with that game. Following that, the Milwaukee Brewers are going to play either the Padres or the Cubs on Saturday for game one of the NLDS. So I'm going to give my thoughts on the Brewers' postseason hopes, on what I hope why I think that this year is going to be different than years past, and give if I have a preference on who they play. Tomorrow is game 3 of the Cubs and the Padres, and the winner, as I said, goes on to play the Brewers. Now we'll find out based off tonight's Yankee Red Sox game, potentially what time the Brewers will be playing on Saturday. If the Yankees win the series, which they're down 1-0 in the series right now, the Brewers play at 1:08. If the Red Sox, who are up 1-0 in the series right now, wins tonight and clinches the series, then the Brewers will play at 8:08 on Saturday. So we'll find out soon, because that game is in the bottom of the 7th inning with the Yankees up to bat, trying to win tied up at 3, trying to win that series to force a game 3. The other two games tonight of both, all three games tonight so far has forced a game 3. We'll see if the Yankees can force a game 3, and then we'll see if the Reds later on can force a game 3 too. But before we go too deep into Brewer baseball, have some Packers to talk about. The Packers tied. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Packers tied the Dallas Cowboys 40-40, the second highest tied score in NFL history, and we did get a scoregami. I have a lot of frustrations with this game. It wasn't a loss. I get that. But now the Packers are at 2-1-1. Well, realistically, they should be 4-0 right now. They gave away the game against the Browns. They pretty much just gave that game away with a blocked field goal, a interception, very ill-timed, bad throw by Love, bad play called by LaFleur. And, we saw what happened there, and that interception allowed the Browns to tie it, and then they ended up winning it on a walk-off field goal. Against the Cowboys, everything looked like it was going to go the Packers' way early on. They jumped out to a 13-0 lead pending an extra point. It got blocked, and it ultimately pretty much went all downhill from there if you're a Packer fan. If you're a Cowboy fan, let me know how you feel about the tie. At Evan with Sports on X, Talking Sports with Evan on Facebook and YouTube. If you're a Cowboy fan, let me know about how you feel about the tie. I think I could speak for most Packer fans when I say that we basically lost the game. That's how we look at it. I'm pretty comfortable. I can talk on behalf of most Packer fans there. But the Cowboys and Packers both scored 7 in the third, and then the fourth quarter is exciting. Packers with 17 points, Cowboys with 14 points, and then both teams exchanged field goals in overtime. And I got so much involving this game that I want to touch on and want to get out there and want to hammer on that I don't even know where to start. Because this is a game the Packers should have won. The Cowboys are not a very good football team. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback, but the Cowboys' defense is absolutely awful. And the Packers defense has been first 3 games of the year had the number 1 ranked scoring defense in the entire NFL. Now they're 13th after giving up 40 against the Cowboys. Jordan Love, 31 of 43 for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 86 yards rushing. Romeo Doubs, 6 catches for 58 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like the Packers offense, for the most part in this game, operated like a well-oiled machine, but yet they still tied. I want to start talking about the offense, and actually not even the offense. Yeah, I'm going to start talking about Matt LaFleur, the Packer head football coach. I've been a Matt LaFleur supporter. I think he's a really good head football coach. I don't think he is one that can win when it counts. That's where I'm going to right now. That's the direction I'm headed to when it comes to the Packers and Matt LaFleur. I text one of my buddies who's hated Matt LaFleur since even before he got hired from the Packers. Maybe not quite that long, but either way, he's never been a Matt LaFleur guy. And I said to him, I'm in your camp in regards to I don't think the Packers go in a Super Bowl with Matt LaFleur as the head coach. And I said that, and part of that was in the moment, but sleeping on it a few days, I still had that same feeling. If the Packers win a Super Bowl this year, or really at any time during the Matt LaFleur era, it's going to be in spite of him, not necessarily because of him. Because he makes some boneheaded and stupid decisions sometimes, and it's like he gets caught up in the moment on the emotions and doesn't know, he gets too aggressive when he shouldn't, he gets too conservative when he shouldn't, and he can't find that middle ground. When Matt LaFleur first got hired as the Packer coach, his attitude was all gas, no blanking brakes. And lately, it's been he's driving in the left lane, going 10 under the speed limit with his blinker on for really no reason at all, with the radio turned down, looking for his turn because the music might distract him trying to find his turn. That is, to me, what the Packers look like right now with Matt LaFleur. And when you look at this game in particular, they had a 4th and 2 around midfield, and he punted. And yes, I get the Packers got to stop, got the ball back and scored another touchdown, and that's when all hell broke loose. But he punted at 4th and 2 in Cowboy territory because he was scared that the Cowboys kicker would be in field goal range if they got a first down or less. All they needed was 1 first down, and they're well within his range. I get it. The Cowboys kicker can probably make a 70-yarder in his sleep. He's got that strong of a leg. But you shouldn't let a kicker, especially with the defense you have, you shouldn't let what a kicker could do in the game dictate if you're going to go for it or not on 4th down in the first quarter. Because what if they score there, then they end up scoring the next time they get the ball. Now it's a 21 or 20-2 game instead of a 13-2 game. The other issue I have with Matt LaFleur and his game management, and I said it on X, and I'll say it right here. He had a master class in mismanagement on Sunday. A master class on mismanagement. After not going for it on 4th and 2, even though all the analytics say that would have been a spot to take that risk, he then gets too aggressive to end the half. The Cowboys marched 95 yards and scored a touchdown to make it a 13-9 ball game. And Matt LaFleur, with 29 seconds to go in the half, decided he wanted to try to get some points before halftime. And it led to trying to be aggressive, pushing the ball downfield. It led to a quarterback getting sacked and the ball getting stripped. It led to the Cowboys jumping on the ball. and it led to the Cowboys scoring, going into the locker room up 16-13, all in a blink of an eye because Matt LaFleur decided to get too aggressive when he shouldn't have. And then, on top of everything else, we get to overtime, and I've heard and I've talked about playing not to lose or coaching not to lose, coaching to win, coaching not to lose. I've never heard of coaching for a tie. And that is ultimately what the Packers did on Sunday night. They played for a tie. They played for a tie because they didn't want to leave too much time on the clock in case they kicked the field goal, because the Cowboys kicker wouldn't need much room to kick a potential game-winning field goal. Score a touchdown, and you don't have to worry about any of that. Get the ball in the end zone, game over, you go home, and the conversation is completely different rather than talking about Matt LaFleur's masterclass in mismanagement. And his description of what happened in overtime too is very head scratching and makes me want to put my head through a wall. Well, not exactly what he said, but basically what he said is, I thought we were in 2-minute drill, and the team were playing in a no huddle, which is different tempo. You're the head coach. You're talking in the quarterback's ear in between every play, giving him what play you want him to run. You called a timeout after an RPO to Golden went for a loss of 2. And what happened after that loss of 2 was ridiculous. Like, you're the head coach. If you want your team playing a quicker tempo, you tell them we have to play a quicker tempo. We're playing 2-minute drill. We want to get a touchdown in here. And you barely got the game-tying field goal up, which in reality you shouldn't have, because time should have expired. But you run a play with a check down, and at the end of the day, quarterback's gonna, defaultly, and it was a stupid decision by Jordan Love to go to the check down there. But you should have told him too during the timeout, if there's nobody open in the end zone, throw it away. Throw it through the back of the end zone. Do not take a check down. Things that you should have talked about. You should have discussed with your team during the timeout. Why? And then the RPO. Why are we running a wide receiver screen RPO with under a minute to go in the game? Like, even if you get a block, you're not likely going to get in. Why not attack down the field a little bit more? And why not have a quicker tempo going into the 2-minute warning? You wasted a ton of time. And I get it. You got to the 4th down. You had to go for it. You got the first right there, getting that first down on 4th and 9. Should have picked the tempo up. Instead, you wasted a ton of time to take it into the 2-minute warning. And as I said, after the blocked extra point, everything went downhill. This game was a complete failure on multiple fronts. Matt LaFleur just got done talking about his failures. Jordan Love, as great of a game that Jordan Love played overall, he made a horrible decision to check the ball down in that overtime period, and almost resulted in no time being left on the clock. He should have spiked it. Instead, he threw another ball in the end zone. Decisions you can't make. Got to be smarter than that. And I think Jordan Love is a very good quarterback, and he's showing flashes of being a great quarterback this year. Just has to, as I said, needs to be more consistent. But it's little things like that is what still frustrates fans. It frustrates the Jordan Love fans and the people that think Jordan Love is a horrible quarterback. It gets them trying to say, hey, told you so. He has poor IQ. He doesn't, he whatever. It gets people saying those more frequently when you make decisions like he did. Special teams. How are we getting a blocked kick, PAT field goal, 2 weeks in a row? How does that happen? It shouldn't happen even one time during the regular season, let alone twice in a row. 2 weeks in a row, you're getting a blocked kick. And Matt LaFleur commented after the first one, he was worried they were going to get one. Then why didn't your special teams coordinator, which you paid a lot of money to run your special teams after special teams cost you the San Francisco divisional round game? You pay this man a lot of money to run your special teams, and special teams is still a problem. Like, what does the special teams coach even do? I get you got some injuries. You're going to have to put some people in situations you normally don't, but that's what you practice for. You practice PAT field goal all the time. Well, guys know where they're supposed to line up, and guys know what they're supposed to do depending on certain coverages and certain not coverages isn't the right word, but certain formations on the block team. You coach them what to do in those situations. Oh, they overloaded with 6 guys on one side, and obviously field goal. It's not like you're running an offensive play where you can move guys around. You're at where you're at. You can't put any more guys on that side. You're stuck where you're at. Well, why don't we make adjustments to say, hey, if they come out in this formation again, this is what we need to do. Because that first extra point was almost blocked, too. So theoretically, the Cowboys could have had 3 blocks in this game because the game-tying field goal was awfully close as well. But we need a new special teams coach again. Matt LaFleur I can't even find words and my frustrations towards him. He coached to tie the game. He didn't coach to win the game. As Herm Edwards stated one press conference, you play to win the game. You don't play not to lose the game. You don't play to tie the game. You play to win the game. And there were moments in the game against the Cowboys that Matt LaFleur coached to tie it. And there were moments against the Browns where he coached not to lose. You were up 10-0. Let's just try to get out of here with a victory, and let's go in cruise control mode, and it bit you on the ass. This game, unfortunately, we tied. And then defensively, through the first 3 weeks of the year, we had one of the best defenses in the NFL. We were top defense in pretty much everything. Points allowed, total yards, rushing yards, you name it. We were one of the top defenses. And tip your hat to the Cowboys. They had a great game plan of misdirection and screens to try to use the Packers' speed against them. And they did a good job of it. But there is no pass rush outside of Micah Parsons. I know he only had 1 sack, but he'd get a bunch of pressures on the Cowboys too. But outside of him, there were 2 other quarterback pressures or hits in the entire game. None of them named Rashawn Gary. None of them named Lucas Van Ness. None of them named Edgerrin Cooper. None of them named Quay Walker. It was those 2. And Devontae Wyatt leaving the game didn't help either. But the Cowboys were able to just basically do whatever, whenever they wanted on defense. And the Packers' defensive backs were exposed. We knew that the cornerback position was a Achilles heel coming into the season. Could be an Achilles heel coming into the season. And through the first 3 weeks of the year, with the help of a very strong pass rush, the defensive backs played really well. But against the Cowboys, they stunk up the joint. And then you got into old habits that we saw under Mike Pettin and Joe Barry, where you're playing the corners on second and third and shorter situations. You're playing the corners back, giving them very little room, very easy to get the yards needed for that first down. That's what they did too much. And as I said, very frustrating to see this game transpire and see everything that could possibly go wrong in this game, and it became quite the headache. And now the Packers going to the bye week at 2-1-1. When going into the bye week at 4-0, the writing was for the taking. Instead, you're 2-1-1. The Lions have rebounded since their ass kicking against the Packers in Week 1 to now look like once again they're one of the top. They're the top two, one of the top two teams in the NFC, and the Packers look like a distant third or fourth best right now in the NFC. Maybe even fifth after the way they played against the Cowboys and the Browns. But the NFL is a week-to-week league, so I'm not going to overreact, even though it sounded like I did. They got the Bengals coming out of the bye. The Bengals are without Joe Burrow, I think, for the season. I don't think he'll be back this season. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Joe Burrow will be back this season. And the defense for the Bengals is awful. So the Packers should get a palate cleanser against the Bengals, but in reality, we'll see. Now, finally, before I let everybody go, the Milwaukee Brewers play playoff baseball on Saturday. Today is October 1st. October 4th, they play playoff baseball. And there's something different about this Brewer team. I really feel there's something different about this Brewer team. They have their flaws. But every team in baseball ultimately has their flaws. But the Brewers hit for average. They were the top rated team in the NL in batting average. They get a score when they're on base, and they put a lot of pressure on the opposing defense. And they pitch well. Now, I know they stumbled a little bit going into the postseason, but they were an injured team, and I think they were a tired team just trying to get to the finish line and regroup with that first round bye. But there's something about this team, to me, that's just different. And if they get guys back healthy, they got the bullpen and they got the starters, everyday position players to really make a big push into the NLCS and hopefully the World Series. How the roster is going to look, I think you have your locks of Freddie Peralta. I shouldn't say I think. You have your locks of Freddie Peralta, Quinn Priester, Jose Quintana, Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, Jared Keening, Aaron Ashby. Those guys are locks. Position players, Jackson Chirio, Sal Frelick, Blake Perkins, Christian Yelich, Bowers, Durbin, Monasterio, Ortiz, Terang, Vaughn, William Contreras, and Danny Jansen. They're all locks. It's kind of interesting what they go from there. They got guys in the bullpen that can go length, and Tobias Myers, Chad Patrick. They have Nick Mears, Rob Zelensky, and DL Hall. They can always put Jacob Mizorowski on the postseason roster. You have Lockridge, Brandon Lockridge, you could put on the postseason roster to have some more speed and base running off the bench. You have Isaac Collins, who at one point, and yes, I got it 1,000,000% wrong. Yes, I get lots of things wrong. Isaac Collins looked like a rookie of the year at one point, and you still have him. And you have Rhys Hoskins, too, that you could always put. So the Brewers have lots of options for the NLDS roster. We'll find out what that roster looks like. I believe Friday is when the rosters are due. I could be wrong. But do you think this season can be different, Brewer fans? Or is it going to be more of the same? Do you see the Brewers getting out of the divisional round and into the NLCS and beyond? Or do you see them being a one and done like they've been in the playoffs every year since 2017? What do you think? Or 2018, I mean. What do you think? Tweet at me at Evan with Sports, or you can comment on Facebook and YouTube, Talking Sports with Evan. We'll be back next week talking Packers expectations coming out of the bye, buy and selling things coming out of the bye, and hopefully talking about a couple Brewer victories from Saturday and Sunday. This has been Talking Sports with Evan. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will be back with you all next